particular case, it just hasn't crossed their mind that it is an important thing to do. But I think it is.
Or
that
maybe
they need to be absolutely open with Nigerians about the reasons for these delays. Because I tell you what is also very critical to me now. I want to see politicians across the party divide begin to talk to their supporters about the need to keep calm. Because we are approaching that period when potentially we could face problems. And the only reason, the only way you can get politicians to begin to talk to their supporters about calm is if you get them to trust the whole process. And that means being transparent about every single thing that you're doing. That's all I'm saying.
It's good you should bring that up, sorry Charles, because of the experience in Lagos today where businesses are closing shop before office hours are meant to close. Reason why? Because people are apprehensive or they're anxious, and businesses are actually closing before their due time to close.
That's a learned experience.
Traffic is lighter. People are rushing home. Why are people rushing home? Some people are
watch,
fearful.
to watch an announcement of election results. Okay, maybe that's pure speculation. But what I wanted to point out was that some things are just very obvious, and that's why I said maybe let's go back to the beginning. Why the delays? Well, right from the word go, we had delays. Delays in the arrival of materials, voting materials, electoral officials, and so I mean, it's obvious that it did have a multiplier effect. When were the results collated? When did they arrive at the INEC collation center over there in Abuja? For instance, today we had 18 states and the Federal Capital Territory, well, making 19 entities in the country, and not all of them arrived at the same time. INEC first announced the first 9, and then later in the day, this evening, 10.
I follow what you're saying. You're saying so maybe it's a domino effect.
That's my point.
From the beginning.
Right from the beginning.
Plausible, yes.
Very plausible, yes. But again, say it.
It needs to be explained.
Yes,
they need to come out.
You were saying that some things are obvious. How obvious is the fact that you should remove the cellophane from the card readers when you are, about to get people to use them to vote?
Now you're taking us into a
I'm
different
just saying,
realm altogether.
What I'm saying is you can't take anything for granted. INEC took that little bit of detail for granted, and what we ended up with were people who were trying to get people to vote, and they couldn't vote because they just didn't know how to do that little tiny thing that we thought was obvious. And so I'm just saying to you, in an election that is this close, in a country with a history of political violence, it is absolutely important that we are transparent at every point in the political process. That is really just the point I was trying to make.
And INEC should be a good communicator.
Well,
to communicate everything that's happening,
you see,
as much as we need to know, so as to put to rest any speculation on why things are happening.
I think that if you allow Nigerians to come up with one or two things that they feel INEC should have done that they have not done, and you want to force INEC, to respond to many of these valid concerns, they won't get this job done. So sometimes it is. You understand? I'm just thinking that we should give
I'm
that
sorry,
that
there's
space.
a spokesman for INEC
Yes.
whose job is only to
Yes.
communicate and nothing more. He's not
Exactly.
charged
There
with
should be
counting
someone-
votes. He's not charged with collating votes. He's not charged with educating his staff. All he's charged with is communicating. That's it.
Well, that's the bridge between INEC and the people, because we can't know what INEC is doing or what they're thinking or what their experience is at different points where there's contention. So it's that spokesperson or the communicators of INEC that will let the people know that, oh, this is what is happening. So, and then the other issues that are not addressed or that need to be postponed to later for them to respond can be.
Well, whatever the case might be, today has been a very interesting day. It's been a very dramatic day, and of course a day of anxiety, maybe for the major stakeholders involved, and maybe for the ordinary Nigerian, people glued to their TV sets, wanting to know what is happening, wanting to know what the figures are, and then wanting to know who is leading. Probably the expectations were that today we would see a victor emerging in the process, but then That is not happening. But what is very instructive is that individuals, families, groups, friends, people have been glued to their television sets watching the broadcast of the collation of results at the Independent National Electoral Commission collation center in Abuja. Well, we also have our viewers following on the various media platforms, watching us on television and also following us on the Twitter pages and also on our various social media platforms, so to say. And so don't forget to visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You could also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we'll also ask you to continue to interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS, and Windows 8 platforms. So we'd like to encourage you to keep sending pictures or videos of scenes from the elections. But then we'd like to make this particular request. Today is the day when families and friends have come together. And of course, you can send us pictures of yourself and members of your family, husbands, wives, children, uncles, aunts, gathered together watching the collation of results on Channels Television. Do send us those pictures or maybe those videos, because we would like to keep memoirs and records of this particular historic event, the 2015 presidential elections in Nigeria, how Nigerians came together to watch as the announcements were results. So if you have those pictures of yourself and your family gathered watching the announcement of the results on television, then of course you can send us those videos. Just tap on the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Channel's Eyewitness menu, and just follow the instructions. Definitely we'll be making very good use of those pictures. Just send them and then watch out, as after the whole business of the elections is concluded, then you'll see exactly what we will be doing with them. But that's the request we are making now. And so back to the events of today.
May I please bring up something that struck me as funny? The Imo State's rec on announcing the results and mentioning where there were cancelled votes, and an incident where he said the INEC officer was nowhere to be found, and then one came and disappeared with the PVC, with the card reader, and therefore the vote. So that struck me as very strange. Why will that sort of a thing happen? And there's no explanation there afterwards.
Yeah, but I found it comforting that the elections, as a result, were cancelled.
Yes,
because, you know,
yes,
yesterday we were talking about
that.
whether INEC had the ability to actually police itself, and whether it had the ability to you know, enforce discipline on members of staff who, for whatever reason, you know, decide to work with politicians as opposed to doing their job. So there is some comfort in the fact that at a polling unit where they found
all right,
a
Kadira,
staff, yeah.
we'll return to that, but I understand that our correspondent at the collation